Do you ever feel that your past sometimes have way too much influence on your present day behaviors? I mean, perhaps you've had a few relationships that went wrong, maybe a failed business or two, some really bad decisions that you made in the past, which you just keep going on over and over in your mind. If that's you, then stick with me, because I'm going to explain why your brain does all of this stuff and, more importantly, what you can do about it. And we're going to look at how that shapes your present and how that shapes your thinking today. And most importantly, I'm going to give you some science-backed practical steps that you can begin to use to think less about your past and bring yourself into the present so you can create a more successful, fulfilling and happy future. Okay, so why does our past have such a strong bearing on our present and what happens in the future? Well, you need to understand that the human brain has evolved into a survival mechanism. 100,000 years ago, your brain needed to remember where danger was. It needed to remember foods that were not good for you. It needed to remember past mistakes to enable you to survive in the here and now so you could have a future. And unfortunately, this no longer has such relevance in that particular scenario, but we're still thinking with the same evolved brain and the same evolved instincts. What hurt us in the past, our brain wants to keep us away from for the future. So it keeps this stuff firmly in mind. Oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there. You don't want to think like this. Or you don't want to get into that kind of situation. It could hurt. It could be painful. And sadly, this is what many people call baggage. And if you're dragging all of this baggage around, it's going to make progress really, really slow, if it's even possible at all. For example, if you've had a handful of really bad relationships, and it can make you quite wary about getting into a new relationship. To some extent, I feel that way, and I'm going to come on to explain this. But it's that this is what happened in the past. It wasn't good, so your subconscious tries to help you avoid what happened there, and relationships is a very good one, and tries to keep you right where you are, where it's well, maybe not comfortable, but it's certainly managed and free from that past hurt. So what it's doing is projecting from the past into the future. Not necessarily to punish you, but certainly there to protect you. And the problem with that is that protection becomes limitation. It stops you from going out and to creating an exciting new future with adventure and new experiences, etc., because your subconscious, your brain, wants to keep you right where you are, safe, protected, here and now. You see, psychologists have identified something called the default mode network, and this is the pattern that your brain goes into based on all of the experiences that you've had thus far and those repeated thought patterns that have brought you to this moment. The problem is that your default mode network is very, very strong. Your subconscious wants to keep things managed. Now, it might not be comfortable, but if it's managed, then your subconscious wants to keep you there because it keeps you from danger, it keeps you from pain. The difficulty is that if you want to overcome all of this stuff from your past, you need to tackle this default mode network and start shifting how it works. Now, here's something even more interesting, and to some extent it's a wee bit scary. You're probably aware that your brain and your body have a very, very strong connection. And if you've ever been in a stressful situation and you bring it to mind, the chances are good you start to physically feel the emotion of that past experience. For example, being in a fight. I remember when our house got burgled, and when I think back about it, that stress level goes up, my cortisol levels go up, my body is actually responding to what happened in the past. I can't even stop it from happening. As soon as I bring this into mind, because it was really stressful and traumatic for us, that cortisol level, my whole body starts to relax and starts to react. My heart rate goes up, my stress levels go up. And this was years ago. But this memory in my mind causes a physical reaction. And this happens on a lot of occasions to a lot of people under a lot of circumstances. When you bring to mind something stressful from the past, your body reacts in much the same way as it did back then. Now, psychologists are increasingly doing research into the health ramifications of reliving past hurts because it brings a physical reaction in the here and now. And this is a big field of study simply because if you can stop getting your body to react in the same way as you did back then and just let it sit in the past, and we'll come on to that, then it gives you a fresh perspective to move forward, because your body's fight, flight or freeze mechanism is not kicking into gear. Now, the good news is that you can actually use this in your favor, and we can begin to reframe what's happened back then. We can't get rid of what's happened in the past. We just have to learn to accept it, deal with it, and emotionally, as best we can, leave it behind us. But what we can do in the here and now is to express more feelings of gratitude and joy to give us a more positive frame of mind in the here and now, because our body will physiologically react. You can imagine how good it feels when you're laughing. You find something intellectually funny and your body reacts and your body feels good. You're actually using that mind-body connection for a good thing instead of using it for something negative. So, what does science say about all of this stuff, and how can we begin to properly move forward? What's the stuff that works? Well, first of all is to accept what happened in the past. I've had to do an awful lot of that. I've made a right mess of my life, and that hurts. But I can't let that define me. I can't let my past drag me and hold me back, simply because I'm not going to have a proper future if I allow to that. So I've had to acknowledge that my past is my past. I can't change it. So I'm not going to allow it to define me here and now. Now, don't get me wrong, this is easier said than done. If, like me, you've gone through an awful lot of trauma in your life, letting go or beginning to distance yourself from it can be quite tricky. But the more you work on this, the easier it gets. And the easier it gets, the more you will want to work on it. So it's worthwhile saying that doesn't define me. What am I learning here and now? Let's experience the good here and now. And it's worth bearing in mind that your worst day back then is not defining you right now. Yes, learn from it. Don't make those same mistakes again. Sadly, I've made too many of the same mistakes, and it's been painful learning. But what happened back then is not who you are now. Whether you like it or not, you're a different person. You're a different person to who you were last year, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and so on. So you think differently, you behave differently, you've experienced different stuff, new information has been added. So let's add something new again by saying, nope, that's then, this is not now, how can we do things differently? And another good thing you can do is to express gratitude for all the good things that are going on in your life. And that doesn't matter how small it is. I'm grateful that my needs are met. I have a roof over my head, can afford to go and sit in a cafe to do some work and just to chill out. I can afford, occasionally to go out on a trip. I'm going to go watch a rugby match next weekend. I'm really excited about that. Be grateful for the good things that you have. If you have health and you have all of your needs, your physical needs met, then you have more than a lot of people have. So express some great gratitude. If you've got family, express gratitude for them. If you've got a job that pays the bills, express a bit of gratitude for them. If you've got a little bit of money in the bank, gratitude. If you've got a hobby that you enjoy, be grateful for this. Be grateful for all the good things in your life. Sometimes it can be hard to see in amongst all the mess and the stress, but the more you express gratitude for what you have, the more you will begin to see more positive things in your life. And another good thing to do is to try and visualize good things from your future, to ruminate less of what's happened in the past, but be grateful for what's happening now in the present, and then visualize a positive future. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do in your life? What are the great things that you can look forward to, that you can begin to work on and develop? And there will be things. So it's that understanding that the past is behind you doesn't define you. You can be grateful for what's happening in the here and now, and you can also begin to visualize and feel good about where you're going. Now, this may sound a little bit out there, but science actually backs this up, because once you begin to fire up neurons in your head that are positive and a lot more optimistic, then they will all start to wire together. Neurons that fire together wire together. So the idea is to, as much as possible, get it with positive, grateful stuff from now and positive expectation for the future. Neuroscience backs this up. Your subconscious will begin to adapt. It's called neuroplasticity, and you can begin to reprogram your brain to have less of this, a lot more of this, and some of that too. And looking at this from a personal perspective, I've been there and done that. I've lived way too much of my life thinking about my disastrous past. And I'm here in Fiji because of a bunch of dumb decisions I've made. And I really gave myself a hard time a year ago for all of that and what it's led me to now. But the good thing is that I'm beginning to learn to say, okay, I'm okay with my past. It's not great, but I'm not going to live there anymore. I can't afford to live there anymore because I want a future. I want to be going somewhere. So I've learned to spend less time there, an awful lot more time in the present, being grateful. And I have a morning routine where I express gratitude for the things that I have in my life, which is my needs are met. There's a little bit of money in the bank. I'm physically well. I've got some good friends that support me. Okay, I can enjoy a decent coffee in the morning. And the fact that I'm here in Fiji and I get to experience a beautiful sunrise most mornings over the hills. So these are good things. They are simple, but they are things to be grateful for. And then I'm also beginning to learn to visualize a more positive future. Hasn't been easy, because there's an awful lot of stress, trauma, and rubbish in my past. And that has taken an awful lot of dealing with and will be probably for the rest of my life. But I'm certainly learning how to be more present with gratitude and to start visualizing what I want going forward. Where am I going? So to wrap it all up, your past is there. You can't ignore it, but you don't need to live there. Learn from it. Learn from past mistakes, learn from past challenges, etc. Bring them into the present to try and avoid making the same mistake. Be grateful for what you have and begin to say to yourself, right, what am I working towards? Where am I going? Because the more you distance yourself from over here, bring yourself into the present and work on the future, the easier this stuff will be. And yes, it may well be challenging to begin with, but it gets easier the more you do. So if this has clicked with you, if you've been through something similar, then please write in the comments below. It would be really great to hear from you. And if you have got value from this, click the thumbs up, give it a like. And if you want more tips on improving your mindset and moving away from self-sabotage, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want a special tip on a fantastic mantra that can make a massive difference in your life, then I strongly suggest you watch this video here. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.